The leader in the lane. Got it. Pierce made Williams worked on by Pierce. The leader in the lane. Got it. Pierce made him earn it.
And that's the one area some people question about Kansas defense. Can they defense the dribble?
Fronts along the baseline and a turnover as Ayuso steps in front. Here come the Trojans. Ayuso dribbles it off his foot.
You want to control the tempo of the game if you're USC, but at the same time, you want to take the fast break baskets when they're available.
Thomas worked on by the smaller Johnson. Out of Robertson.
USC switching defenses, Barry. They dropped out of that man-to-man into a 2-3 defense.
Spin around by Pierce on the high post, and Lakey comes away with it.
It's obvious USC's game plan is to switch defenses and to keep Kansas out of a comfortable offensive rhythm.
Johnson, a little change direction and a pull-up. No. High to the rebound is Chenoweth. Ahead it goes to LaFrance for the basket. Counted and one. Well, the line on LaFrance is he runs the floor better than any 6'11" guy in the country, and he showed it right there.
Well, when it comes to the transition game, he has guard-like skills. The one thing that he does, Barry, he really reads the transition game well. He finds the open lane, he'll fill it. Sometimes it'll be out on the left side, sometime on the right, sometime down the middle.
Big-time play, big-time finish for LaFrance. And a quick timeout called with Kansas leading it 7-2. Look at the numbers on Raef LaFrance. 21 points a game, 11 rebounds a game. He blocks a couple shots a game. And that's with some pretty good company around him, too.
Well, and you're playing alongside of another first-team All-American in Paul Pierce, another candidate for college basketball player of the year. What you like about LaFrance's game is this. It has vast variety. He can score with his back to the basket. He can step out and score facing the basket. And before this game's over, we're going to see him score on 3 or 4 lob plays.
Bottom line is, this is a good basketball team. France can shoot it at the free throw line as well, as you see.
The poor guy that's guarding this young man, he'll wear him down before you get to 18 minutes left in the game. He just forces you to work harder than you've ever had to work before.
Almost went over and back, but he penetrates and travels to the extra step. A couple of careless turnovers by the Trojans early in this game. The second, they're down 6.
And we just saw a staple of Kansas basketball. After made free throws, they like to change defenses and go into a little trapping defense, and they trapped USC at the half-court mark in.
Throw it away on the offensive end, though. It'll be the Trojans' ball.
USC has already played 3 different defenses, Barry. They played a 2-3 zone, a half-court trap, and man-to-man.
Ayuso, the spot up 3.
You gotta like the aggressive posture of this USC team. They're not playing it safe, Barry. They're coming right out and going after the Kansas Jayhawks.
I think that's really their only chance.
Kansas's primary offense is its secondary break. They're not running as much set offense as they have the last couple of years.
We want to welcome those of you who have just joined us. Barry Tompkins with George Raveling. 8-5 ball game. Kansas leading USC just underway a little over 3 minutes into the first half. This is Gary Johnson at the point for USC. Ayuso spot up again. Dumps it inside for Lakey, this time with a jump hook. And Chenoweth with the rebound. Loses control, but it's picked up by Robertson. Gets it ahead to Chenoweth. Easy basket. There's LaFrance under the basket, incidentally, at the other end. Fumbled the basketball, not Chenoweth. Chenoweth with the finish.
We'd be hard-pressed to find a Division I basketball team whose big men run the floor more consistently than Kansas.
Ayuso way downtown, no. And it's going to be off the hands of Chenoweth. It'll be USC ball. Jeff Trepanier comes into the ball game.
Henry Bibby's got to be a little concerned about the fact that he's only getting one shot at the basket. Kansas is dominating the defensive board.
Ayuso in the corner with the bigger LaFrance on him. Drive, offense. Good position again by Pierce. Just fundamentally sound defense.
An amazing stat for Kansas is they have 50 less personal fouls than their opponent, and yet they're shooting 100 more foul shots than their opponent.
Chenoweth picked clean that time by Johnson. Race to the basket. Johnson with the finish. Well, that's the guy you were talking about.
Well, in the secondary break, it's very important that Kansas get the ball back in the hands of their center Chenoweth so that they can reverse the ball. But what USC's doing is they're trying to deny that reversal.
Chenoweth face up at the free throw line. Easy chance.
And he shot it with confidence. A 7-foot big man shooting the face-up opportunity jumper.
Johnson blocked by Robertson. Get it to Pierce. Ahead it goes to Chenoweth, but stepping in front is Lakey, and here come the Trojans. Knocked away off of Johnson's hands. Kansas ball. And with that, we'll take a commercial break. 15-15 remaining first half. 12-7 Kansas over USC.
Okay, this guy's going to do it. This guy's...
Back to live action, and Kansas, we're taking a look here at the steal by Johnson.
Well, good offenses are built on ball reversal. A mistake that was made there was Chenoweth caught the ball and put it down in his lap in a position where the little point guard could step in and tie him up.
Thomas spot up three, missed off the front rim. But it's run down the second chance by Chenoweth.
USC's applying enough ball pressure to cause Kansas to make some quick and ill-advised decisions. As a result, Kansas's ball handling has been very shaky here in the early stages of the game.
LaFrance draws the foul on the Trojans, though, and he'll go to the line for two. Trepanier is the guilty party.
I would look for Kansas to get into either a full court or half court trap. They love the trap after made foul shots.
Rotation on the free throw by LaFrance. He's got 4. Nick Bradford comes into the ball game now for Kansas, and Billy Thomas will leave. Bradford somehow getting away from the clutches of the Arkansas Razorbacks. He's from Fayetteville, Arkansas, home of the Razorbacks. 6 for LaFrance and a 14-7 Kansas lead.
Kansas does a great job of overplaying the wing pass, trying to force the defense out far.
Well, the follow is up and good. Very close to offensive interference. Jeff Trepanier with the follow, and we got a turnover on Kansas.
What's happening, Barry, is USC is not allowing Kansas to walk into the secondary break. They're meeting them high, they're giving them different looks, and it's really causing Kansas problems.
Williams just sets up and sticks it.
Good game plan by Henry Bibby. There he is with the full court pressure. They've already played 7 different defenses.
Well, this is something you and I talked about before we went on the air. They're playing them a lot like Maryland played.
Yeah, they stole a page out of Maryland's scouting report.
And Ayuso sticks the 3, and the Trojans have the lead.
This is exactly the way Maryland played them. Full court pressure, half court pressure, make them play a little quicker, make them a passing team. The Trojans are on an 8-0 run.
Robertson spot up 3.
He doesn't shoot often, but when he does, Barry, he's a gifted three-point shooter. He only takes about 5 shots a game.
But when he plays and when he starts, they win.
Well, they went 11-0 last year when he was in there for Jayhawk.
20-0 when he starts. This is Bradford in the foot range. Dish to Pierce. Took the extra step, got away with it, and a reverse jam.
Paul Pierce's offense certainly has a pro look to it. He took that one underneath the rim, which nullified the defender. He had no chance to block it because he used the rim as a helper.
Williams for 3. And Chenoweth with the rebound.
USC continues to get only 1 shot at the basket.
Another travel that Pierce got away with. LaFrance fouled from behind by Trepanier. Second foul on Trepanier. And Henry Bibby will bring Spanich and Augustine into the ballgame. Augustine's been hurt. We weren't sure if he was going to play tonight.
Well, I talked to Coach Williams, one of the assistants before the game. He told me that Augustine would not play. So much for that.
Yeah, that's what we know. Lester Earl also in the ballgame. Guy who the good folks in Lawrence have been anxiously waiting for, and he's playing in his 2nd game after transferring from LSU. Very highly recruited young man. He'll be a role player for much of this season, I'm quite sure, with this Jayhawk team. One of the rebound, play some defense. Ayuso pulls the trigger, won't go. Spanich follows, no. And Pierce the rebound. Drop it down this time for Earl, and he can't get it to go, but he will go to the line.
And Lester Earl, they waited a long time to get this young man into the lineup. There's been anxious anticipation by the Jayhawk fans to see this young man.
Foul is on Ayuso, and Earl will go to the line.
When he was a senior in high school, Barry, he narrowed it down to LSU and Kansas. He said in retrospect he should have listened to his inner voice and gone to Kansas. That's where he really wanted to go, but he listened to other people's advice and ended up going to LSU and was not happy there.
Couldn't decide, so he went to both of them.
He averaged 10 points a game last year as a freshman at LSU.
After an air ball, he comes back and converts the 2nd.
Well, I'm certain he's a little nervous. He wants to prove to people that he is as good as his newspaper clippings reveal.
Nice penetration that time for Augustine, and Trepanier gets 2 chances and makes good on the 2nd. Well, the Trojans hanging around. That's exactly what they need to do.
Well, what the Trojans have done is they've exploited their superior athletic ability and quickness. They're definitely a quicker team than Kansas.
Billy Thomas stepped on the baseline. We got a timeout. 11:40 remaining first half. Kansas leads it, but just by 3. It's 20-17. Jayhawks. Here's George Raveling. Kansas leads it by 3. 11:40 remaining in the first half. We talk about Paul Pierce and what an impact he can make on a game. And you were talking about how he plays an NBA style. Take a look at this.
Well, what happens? Here's a missed rebound. A fast break starts with the missed rebound. And when you have big men who can run the floor with sprinter speed, it's an additional luxury that Kansas can call on.
But the Trojans hanging around. They trail by 3 with the ball.
You've got to like Henry Bibby's game plan. He's mixed his defenses. He's got his players open for good shots. All a coach can do is put his players in a position to win. Excellent spacing in this USC offense also.
Dropped it down for Lakey that time. C.B. McGrath way out of control, and they throw it away. If there is any Achilles heel for this Kansas team, and I'm not suggesting there may be, it could be at the point.
Absolutely. If Ryan Larson were to go down, the Jayhawks would be in big-time trouble. In my mind, he's their most valuable player because they would find life most difficult without him in there.
Lakey missed a shot. Sims has the follow rejected, but it'll still be USC ball. Augustine penetrate, trying to force it to Lakey. And now here come the Jayhawks, but it's picked by Lakey. Get it to Augustine, fouled by McGrath.
The play at both ends of the floor has become such a hasty pace that the ball handling has become careless. The decision making has become faulty. The game has become sloppy.
Only 1 of 8 for their last 8, that is, for the USC Trojans, and still they are only down 3. They will get Ryan Robertson back in the ball game, just to put an emphasis on the point you just made, Raph. Lakey drop it down for Williams, give it to Trepanier, rejected beautifully by LaFrance. That's a great set by Kansas. And Lakey puts it back for USC, so the Trojans make the most of many chances.
I'm very impressed early in the game with a couple things that USC's done. One, their aggressive mentality, and 2, their supreme confidence.
LaFrance draws a crowd. They kick it out, bring it on the baseline this time to Earl, who comes off the baseline and draws the foul on Lakey.
And Henry Bibby's having a aggressive conversation in front of us here with Charlie Range, a veteran Pac-10 official.
And Henry's toying with the tee here. And Charlie has a pretty long fuse. And I just heard Charlie say that's enough. And I know he won't go for much more.
Well, Charlie's been around long enough that Henry will really have to say something explosive. Charlie has probably had as many years of service as an official in this conference as anybody. I would say he's probably the senior official in this conference.
2 of 4 at the line for Lester Earl.
He's worked the Final Four.
Yeah.
They cannot trap the USC point guard. They've tried time and time again, but they cannot trap him.
Earl got a hand on the ball. Kansas playing pretty good low post defense, actually.
One reason that Kansas has had a success in tipping the ball away on the entry pass to the low post is the USC low post man is not doing a good job of sealing his defensive man and then holding the seal.
Johnson back in the ball game. Augustine leaves. Trepanier, incidentally, has 3 fouls, and I suspect they will get him out of there too. Ryan Robertson, as you see, almost 7 assists a game. Knocks that one down. And now Trepanier will come out, and Elias Ayuso will come back. Trepanier has been productive, the freshman from Compton.
I would not at all be surprised to see him in the starting lineup around late January. He brings to the lineup an explosiveness that USC desperately needs.
Penetrate, kick, Ayuso for 3.
And that's Ayuso's staple, the 3-point shot. Over 50% of his shots are 3-point attempts.
And that's his 3rd of the night. He has 9 in the ball game, and it's tied at 22. Robertson for 3. And Chenoweth over the top.
We talked earlier in the game about the fact that USC was getting very few second shots at the basket. Well, when we reverse and go to the other end, USC's doing a good job of blocking out and denying Kansas second shots at the basket.
The question I have here, Rav, is who does this pace favor?
Well, I would say that it would favor USC right now simply because they play 10 players and it helps utilize their speed and quickness.
They got Pierce with the off arm that time.
The fast tempo at this point seems to have worked against Kansas instead of in their favor.
Well, they called that on Chenoweth and not on Pierce, I beg your pardon.
An absolute correct analysis. The foul was not on Paul Pierce, it was on Chenoweth.
Spanish from the corner. He's got a nice stroke for 3-2, but he's a little long that time. Loose ball. Ayuso picks it up. And the Trojans will have another chance. He looks, he shoots, it won't go. And LaFrance to the boards.
I'm not sure that was an intelligent shot selection demonstrated then. They would have been better off holding and coming up with a high-quality shot.
To the basket, Pierce.
What you have to do with Paul Pierce when he gets the ball is play on his right shoulder, force him to go left. You cannot allow him to go right. Every time he gets the ball, force him to put the ball in his left hand.
The ball movement by the Trojans. Williams, the floater. Williams has 9 in the ball game. Not easy shots either. Drop it down for Earl, and he's hammered this time.
When Paul Pierce gets the ball in the corner, he can smell blood, and if he sees an opening along that baseline, he's going to seize it. Force him back in toward the middle where you can get defensive help, where you can get the double team and force the ball out of his hands. He's too explosive of a player. He can take the game over.
Free throw story in the ball game, and Earl is back at the line where he's 2 of 4. Lakey comes back into the USC lineup. Henry Bibby juggling bodies in and out. Bangs that one a little hard, but Kansas gets it back, and the scoop by Pierce won't go. The follow by LaFrance won't go. And finally, it's going to be off the Trojans as Spanish couldn't quite hang on. Physical game.
The level of intensity's been impeccable.
7:55 remaining. We're tied at 24.
It's people who like tomorrow more than yesterday. People who like hard questions better than easy answers. People connecting arts with engineering, physics with philosophy. People who dream in 100 languages. It's in the middle of a city that's the test pattern for the future, at the heart of a new world called the Pacific Rim. It's a place that works like the next century is already here. Good place to be if you're going that way.
The problem with most home equity lenders is no equity means no loan. That's because they only let you borrow up to 80% of the value of your home. But at First Plus, you can borrow up to 125% of the value of your home. So even with no equity, you can still consolidate bills, make home improvements, or even get some extra cash. Just call 1-800-510-PLUS. You'll get an answer before you hang up. First Plus, no equity is no problem. So call 1-800-510-PLUS.
This is for my grandfather, who always said I'd make the family proud. For my mom, who never let me out the door without my homework. For my dad, who worked the night shift to make our lives better.
Flight 3 Alpha. Spotting.
For myself, for my future.
Yes, that's the right score. 7:56 remaining in the half. Kansas 24 and a spunky USC team 24. I haven't used that word in a long time, spunky. Beginning tomorrow, more college basketball coming your way with the Puerto Rico Holiday Classic and some of the nation's top teams. In fact, we could talk about some of the nation's top teams. That's for real in the Puerto Rico Holiday Classic tomorrow on Fox Sports Net. Check your local listings. Look at these teams, Rab.
Well, you got Arkansas, Michigan, Murray State, probably the best unranked team in the country. Syracuse, Iowa State, TCU, St. Louis. What an amazing field. I'm tuning in to watch that one.
There's 10 undefeated teams in Division I right now, and there are 3 of them in that tournament. And a couple of other teams with only 1 loss.
And Murray State, the best unranked team in Division I.
Mark Gottfried, formerly a Jim Herrick assistant at UCLA, coaching that team. He did a great job last year. Got us to 25 with 30 serves last year. That was LaFrance to the basket.
Kansas does an outstanding job in a high-low situation.
That's not in this house from Chenoweth.
Eric Chenoweth is destined to be one of the premier big men in college basketball, and it won't take long for him to secure that status.
just a freshman. Southern California product out of Villa Park.
You know the last great one to come out of Villa Park High, Kevin Costner.
There you are. No, I did not know that. Williams misses everything.
Costner played a little baseball at Cal State Fullerton.
Well, there's a great play by the freshman Lakey to keep it alive, give his team another chance. Tied at 26. Paul Pierce the scoop with the left hand.
Golly, does he make the game appear to be easy? More people would play basketball if they thought it was as easy as Paul Pierce makes it look. I might come out of retirement if I thought I could do it like he does.
Williams puts it on the floor, drives baseline, tried to do, stepping in front nicely was Thomas.
And all of a sudden, the Trojans' offense has come to a standstill.
Robertson, spot up three, no. Over the top, Chenoweth, no. And a rebound to Lakey. High percentage chances for the Jayhawks.
If USC could just do a little better job on each possession of getting a quality shot, they can get out of here Barry at halftime and be right there knocking on the door for a possible upset.
Johnson pull up with 6 seconds on the shot clock. And Chenoweth with another rebound is fourth.
And here come the Jayhawks.
Opportunity, Jay, for Pierce. He had his choice that time.
Well, and they had 3 guys open. Ryan Robertson had his choice of 3 men.
Paul Pierce with 10 points coming back home to Los Angeles. Product of Inglewood High School. They produced a few players too, haven't they?
And it has been an effortless 10 points.
An impressive 10 points too. You got to like Paul Pierce. A lot of players in this game, I'll tell you that. 5:31 remaining first half. Kansas by 4. By 4, 5:31. You know, Roy Williams has a pretty interesting problem. If you want to stack up and double up on one man, that's good. If not, you got another.
Well, they offer a heck of a lot. I think the first thing is such a threat for the other team's coaching staff to worry about. You know, it's makes a nice situation if you have that third or fourth score to come in, but if you have 2 like Paul and Rafe, it's really a load for the other team to handle, because they know that a lot of times that when things get really tight, that both of those guys can get their own shot.
Well, Barry, not only does Roy Williams have 2 first-team college All-Americans, he has 2 legitimate candidates for college basketball's Player of the Year.
Amazing, isn't it?
Oh, what a luxury.
So for 3. No, a little hard. Good rebound up over the top that time by Kenny Gregory in the ball game for the first time. Gets it ahead to Robertson. Back it out, set the offense once more.
This is not as explosive an offensive team that Kansas has on the floor as their starting lineup. This is a great chance for USC to take advantage.
France with the rebound off the miss by Bradford. He's fouled from behind by Ayuso, or Augustine, I beg your pardon.
You look at the lineup out there on the floor right now. You have Gregory, Bradford, Robertson, LaFrance. This is not a good jump shooting team that Kansas has on the floor right now. This might be a good time for USC to play a zone. This is not a good jump shooting team Kansas has on the floor right now.
And the rebound off the hands of Lakey. It'll be Kansas ball.
They'll go to LaFrance 90 times out of 100 on the out-of-bounds play. They like to get that ball into Rafe LaFrance.
Jump out of Robinson, not giving him a look from beyond the arc. And they got a technical foul on Henry Bibby, and that's exactly what we were just talking about. I think it's on the assistant coach, actually, rather than on Henry Bibby. It's on Matt Doherty. I beg your pardon, Matt Doherty. Dave Miller. Dave's a nice guy. I don't do that.
The official pointed at Dave Miller. He pointed past Henry Bibby to Dave Miller. That's a bad time to get a technical when you're 3 points down, too, Barry.
Makes it 5 with possession.
This could be a critical circumstance for the Trojans.
Gregory had a good look and a follow by LaFrance, but he went over the top to do it.
Clock management becomes of paramount importance here for the Trojans. You got 4:33 left. How the Trojans administer this last 4 minutes and 33 seconds could well spell the outcome of this game, Barry.
They get Paul Pierce back in the ballgame to give the Jayhawks a little more offensive punch. Augustine with the bigger LaFrance on gets by him, penetrate, pull up, blocked by Robertson. And it's going to be out of bounds to Kansas.
USC would be better served offensively to come down the floor, spread the floor, create gaps, get 4 or 5 players some touches in offensively, make Kansas work on defense.
Well, the officials changed the call. They'll give the ball to USC, and with that, Henry Bibby will take a 20-second timeout. So Henry, with the chalkboard in hand, will create a play. Got a reminder that more college basketball coming your way. You're going to be at Pauley Pavilion after Christmas. It'll be Illinois and UCLA. Remember last year, Illinois gave UCLA all they wanted, a little bit more. Looking for a return to the Final Four of the Bruins. Big Ten, Pac-10 once again next Tuesday night on Fox Sports Net.
And I'll be behind the mic on that one. Oh, they did give the ball to USC on that one. Now I understand why Roy's up still beating on the ear of Bob Sidoff.
The Trojans will get it back. They get it into Lakey, and he's blocked perfectly that time by Lester Earl. That's 6 blocked shots for Kansas, and that's affected the game. Pierce went down hard.
And that is 10 turnovers for Kansas. Awful lot of turnovers for Kansas early in the basketball game.
As we were just talking about, 6 blocks for Kansas. Trojans having all sorts of trouble getting it down low. Augustine kick out, and the spot up is good that time by Trepanier.
And this is what I talked about earlier. Spread the floor, create penetration gaps, force Kansas into difficult defensive situations.
Trojans with the numbers, Trepanier on the wing to Augustine. Trojans not going away here, George.
31-30 with 3:37 to go. What a great game plan by Henry Bibby.
13 turnovers by the Jayhawks. They'll call a timeout. That's a good timeout.
Quick thinking by Ryan Robertson saved the Jayhawks another turnover. Here's a tip ball. Ryan Robertson chases it down, and as he gains possession, he has the presence of mind to quickly call a timeout. That's why he is the leader of the Jayhawk offense.
Got 5 assists in this ball game, so he contributes in ways other than just putting points on the board, and he is capable of doing that also. As you saw, 13 turnovers for Kansas. That's a little bit uncharacteristic, I think, of a Kansas team.
Well, I think what the Trojan defense has done, it's really forced Kansas to make quick decisions with the basketball. They've taken away the good passing angles. As a result, Kansas has turned the ball over a little more than they normally do.
A trap LaFrance this time. Get it to Pierce, who draws a crowd. Now back on the baseline. Gregory blocked by Leakey. I think Leakey got a hand on that ball.
The one thing that USC has is they have superior quickness.
Open is Ayuso for 3.
Oh! He's on fire. Call the fire department.
His 4th 3, and the Trojans lead by 2. They have turned it around from a 5-point deficit. They have 7 unanswered here. Got a foul on Pierce, I believe. It's either Pierce or Earl.
And what's happening is, in the emotion of the game, Kansas has not recognized that USC USC is changing defenses every time down court. That time, very quietly, USC slipped into a 2-3 zone. Kansas did not do a good job of reading it.
Kansas has some fouls to use. They only have 4. Spanish puts it on the floor. The floater won't go. And Lakey runs it down. Lakey's 7th rebound and a half. Ayuso misses the long 3, and Chenoweth with the rebound is picked. And they throw it away. And that's just flat sloppy.
We sit with 2:29 to go. USC's ahead 33-31. Court and sense and clock management is an absolute must for USC.
So that run.
Henry Bibby's calling a set play from the bench. Thumbs down.
Spanish spot up 3. No, missed everything.
What an ugly shot.
They get it ahead to LaFrance. Runs the floor to the basket.
2 gigantic mistakes. A bad shot by Spanish, and then he ran back on defense with his back to the ball as the French raced by him for the open layup out of transition.
They do run the transition well. Trepanier along the baseline. 9 on the clock. Gotta do something pretty quickly here. Ayuso creates. And an offensive foul. That was not a good possession for the Trojans.
You've got to wonder how many of the Trojan players on the floor understand the time and score concept. You're at 137, you're sitting with a tie score. The time and the score dictate how the game must be played. It's the point guard's responsibility to take charge on the floor for USC and to bring order to the floor.
Robertson will leave for Kansas. Williams. Paul Pierce will be at the free throw line. Paul Pierce, as we said, the whole package.
One of the Big 12 coaches said to me the other day, he made an interesting observation, Barry. He said Paul Pierce is the most improved All-American player in America.
How does that make you feel if you got to play against him? All-American last year, and he's better.
How about this? He was only 3rd team All-Big 12 last year. Who did the voting? I want to know.
Williams worked on by Pierce. Pierce just does it all. Robertson steps in front. A race to the basket. Robertson with a left hand. Short blocked, I believe.
Kevin Augustine on the block shot.
What a steal by Pierce.
Break Henry Bibby's heart.
And Bradford finishes. That's a big-time play by the All-American.
Oh, what a dagger in the heart of Henry Bibby. An ill-advised pass. Once again, poor shot clock management by the Trojans.
Well, one of the things they talk about also with Paul Pierce is his knowledge of the passing lanes. He stepped in front that time, and even though it was a bad pass, he did a great job just to catch the ball. It was a bullet.
Barry, you're absolutely right. So much is said about Paul Pierce's offense that his defense tends to be devalued. He's a very good defensive player.
Gary Johnson.
The Trojans need a stop here. Let's see what Henry Bibby's going to call defensively. They're in a man-to-man.
Play for the last shot. Shot clock is off. 15 seconds.
You can almost bet LaFrance or Pierce are going to take the last shot here. There it is.
Couldn't get it. Rebound, Brad. Rejected by the
time block. Jeff Trepanier, unbelievable block to save the basket.
8 blocks in the first half for USC. And Roy Williams, I'm sure not too pleased with what he saw in the first 20 minutes. His team leads But I think Roy feels that they should be leading by a little bit more than they are. And you got to credit USC. Henry Bibby came in here with an idea, and he's executing it. And they finished the first half with a flourish on the block by the freshman, Jeff Trepanier. Long shot coach who's done well.
Well, you know, I've never looked at it as a 10-year picture. I just try to do the best every single day, and I know that sounds corny, but that's the truth. It's contrasting thoughts with me. It's so many things have gone on, it seems like it could have taken 100 years to do it, but yet it's passed so quickly that it seems like it was yesterday. So I know those are two contrasting thoughts, but I've always felt pretty comfortable with my abilities because I had the best teachers in the world in Coach Smith and in Bill Guthridge and Eddie Fogler. But needless to say, things have gone very well, and everybody thinks I'm being humble. I'm just being truthful when I say that I've had good players that have taken care of me, and I hope they keep doing it. The style of play that I like is play as hard as you possibly can defensively. On the offensive end, be very unselfish and use your brain. If you do those three, I think you've got a chance. The reason I stay at the college level is because the kids, the relationship that you can have with the kids. I think that that's something that you can't necessarily have at that next level, and that's what makes it so much fun for me, is I feel like that I can be a positive influence on what's going to happen to them later on in life. Well, this year's Kansas basketball team is hard to describe. We've been fairly ugly in some games, and yet we've been pretty doggone good in some games. So I guess the first thing would be inconsistency, which is what I don't want. I want us to get more consistent. A team that's got some offensive firepower, but needs to get a lot better on the defensive end of the floor.
Well, the simple fact is, I think before it's all done, this is an awfully good basketball team. Halftime here at the Sports Arena, Barry Tompkins, George Raveling, 2-point lead for the Kansas Jayhawks over USC. And I think it's fair to say in the first 20 minutes, George, that each team did enough good things to be in the lead.
Well, you could really make a mathematical formula of plus and minuses. For Kansas, the pluses were their defensive rebounding and their sterling transition game. The minus was their turnovers, 14 turnovers in the first half. For USC, the plus, the changing defenses, and their three-point shooting. The negative, poor decision-making, poor clock management in the last 5 minutes of the first half.
One thing you and I were talking about before this game even tipped off, and that is the first 5 minutes of the second half and how important that is both to USC and to Kansas, because that's a great time for Kansas.
Well, if you look at the early season performances by Kansas, they're an explosive team in the first 5 minutes of the second half. If USC can hang with them in the first 5 minutes of the second half, that this game could be pretty interesting. I look for Kansas to come out of this locker room and to make a substantial run at USC early.
Yeah, this game is really not unlike Kansas' game with TCU over the weekend. It was a three-point game at the half. Kansas came out early in the second half and set the tone.
They can score in bunches, and they're a great second-half team. They love to wear you down physically.
Well, it's been an interesting week here on the Southern California campus. Mike Garrett, who is the athletic director here, the former Heisman Trophy winner, of course, I think he started this week at about 5'11", and he's about 5'5" now. He's been pounded down. A controversial firing of head football coach John Robinson, and today he had a chance, I suppose you could say, to right the wrongs as he introduced the new football coach, a guy by the name of Paul Hackett. I know Paul, great football mind.
Well, having been around USC for a number of years, I'm going to tell you this. He's got an immense amount of pressure on him, and he's got to start off. You've got to beat Notre Dame. You've got to beat UCLA.
You're not trying to say it's a football school, are you?
Well, it is.
Well, we're going to talk more about it on Fox Sports News, as they will have all the pictures, all the voices, all the sounds you want to hear from the Paul Hackett press conference today. Phil Jackson going for number 500 tonight. And Arizona had I guess you'd have to say, an unfortunate trip to Florida State. Speaking of football schools, Arizona gets beat at Florida State. The guys will have all the highlights on Fox Sports News. We'll have the highlights of the first half of this game, and it's been a good one. 7:35. Both teams did an awful lot of good things. Let's take a look at one of the good things that Kansas did.
Well, the truly great offensive players have the unique ability to create offense for themselves, and Paul Pierce is an offensive creator.
He got 12 in the first half. His pal Rafe LaFrentz added 9. Ryan Robertson had 5 points. Chenna with 4 points and 6 boards in the first half. Thomas had the first 3. Earl and Bradford each with 2. USC got it done beyond the arc.
Well, USC's offense feeds off of three-point attempts. Against Ohio State, they stroked 33 attempts up there, and there was one of them, and there's an emotional reaction to the made basket.
Ayuso with 4 threes in the first half for his 12 points. Gary Williams, a tough 9. Trepanier, I thought, very productive, especially on the defensive end. Had 4 points, also picked up 3 fouls. Lakey had 7 rebounds in the first half to go with his 4 points. Second half, upcoming. 37-35, Kansas will have, or rather SC will have the first possession. Same starting lineups in the second half for both teams. Johnson, Ayuso, Swillis, Lakey, and Williams for USC. 20-second timeout called. Just 13 seconds into the second half.
Kansas came out of the dressing room with a new level of defensive intensity. They really overplayed the passing lanes on that possession.
Numbers at the end of the first half. 39% shooting. Go ahead, George.
Well, take a look at this. USC did not attempt a foul shot in the first half, but one of the principal reasons for that is not certainly bad officiating. 40% of their shot attempts in the first half were three-point shot attempts. Kansas has enough defensive discipline. They're not going to foul the three-point shooter. One thing that kept USC in the game in the first half, they had 10 offensive rebounds.
Ayuso sticks a 3, and the Trojans stick their nose in front. 15 for Ayuso, all on 3s.
And the Trojans are now 6 for 14 behind the three-point arc.
Keeping them in the fray. Robertson. Thomas for 3. Nice stroke.
You'd be hard-pressed to find in college basketball a better catch-and-shoot three-point player. You must make Billy Thomas put the ball on the floor. A player like him, he has to operate off the dribble.
Swillis working around Chenoweth. Couldn't get it to go. And LaFrance clears.
Good defensive discipline by Eric Chenoweth. He kept his feet, used his 7-foot size, and stayed stable.
And Thomas sticks another 3. Back-to-back 3s for Billy Thomas.
And did we say the first 5 minutes of the second half would be critical? Kansas is lethal in the first 5 minutes of the second half of any basketball game.
This is Ayuso. Thomas right in his pocket. They have stepped up the defensive intensity, haven't they?
Yes.
Williams open. Missed everything. Good job by LaFrance. Dennis Mnuchin, our ace statistician, hands me a note I find very interesting here, Raph.
USC has only 1 timeout left in the game. No 20-second timeouts. I hope the assistant coaches for USC have advised Henry Bibby that they are in a critical situation timeout-wise.
LaFrance with the finger roll.
If you're Henry Bibby, you'll hope that a player doesn't get in a situation where he makes a call for a quick timeout, Barry, and it's their last one.
You talk about the second halves that the Jayhawks have played, and this one is indicative.
Don't look now. The Jayhawks are on an 8-0 run.
Swillis misses the shot.
And we're not 3 minutes into the second half. You study film, you look at game play-by-play, and it becomes increasingly obvious that the first 5 minutes of the second half are critical for all KU opponents.
Swillis stops the bleeding for the moment. Spanish comes into the ballgame for the Trojans, and Lester Earl comes on for Roy Williams' Jayhawks. Chenoweth will leave.
Roy Williams' halftime talks cannot be that motivational, can they?
I don't know. They're working whatever he's saying. This, incidentally, is the first time that a Trojan has been at the free throw line tonight. Lakey almost got that tip in.
The thing that's been noticeably absent in this game is crowd support. if you're Roy Williams, you have to feel pretty good about coming into the sports arena. The crowd certainly hasn't got behind this team the way it should.
Gary Johnson knocks one down. It's a 3-point game.
When you look at the job the Trojans are doing against the #2 team in the country, you'd think the crowd would be at fever pitch.
Robertson with a good look, squared up, stuck it.
I am absolutely stunned at the amount of open looks that USC is giving Billy Thomas and Ryan Robertson. Kansas doing a nice job on Spanish. They will not allow him good looks at the basket.
Three-point shooter Gary Johnson misses, and LaFrentz high to the rebound. Outlet for Pierce. 7th rebound for LaFrentz. Pierce opportunity. Not going to miss that too much.
Oh, what a pretty game. What a pretty game. Paint your picture, Paul Pierce. Show us how offense is supposed to be played.
Makes it look pretty easy, doesn't it?
Oh.
Lakey turnaround. Lakey getting better with every game.
Well, he had 7 rebounds in the first half. He's a keeper.
4 of them on the offensive board.
Henry Bibby had said to me early in the season that Lakey had the chance to be a Dennis Rodman type of rebounder. I looked at his body and I thought that maybe Henry was on something, but based on tonight's performance, maybe Henry knows what he's talking about.
LaFrentz with an easy basket. He's got 13, and Kansas now leads by 8. The other thing they say about Rafe LaFrentz is he has the ability to go hard for 40 minutes. Got a great motor. Lakey picked by Thomas.
Outstanding help by Billy Thomas.
We'll take a timeout with that. 15-10 remaining in the ball game. Kansas leads it by 8. SC 4. 15-10 remaining in the ball game.
Barry, Kansas has many ways to intimidate you. Here's a quiet way to intimidate you. At the timeout, all 5 players run off the floor. They're sending a signal to USC. We're not tired. We're aggressive. Look at us. We're going at full speed on and off the floor.
You saw the inbound. Tough inbounds pass. They get it to Swillis. There's the trap.
One of the Jayhawks' many psychological weapons.
Shot.
Dribbled himself into trouble is what he did.
Great effort by Lakey to keep it alive, and he got it back to Swillis. Good play by the freshman. Spanish for 3. And he can't find it tonight. Robertson with a rebound.
He hasn't been able to get into a rhythm, and that's a compliment to Kansas's defense.
0 for 6 tonight for Spanish. Pierce with the finish and 1.
Everything this young man does at the offensive end is fundamentally sound and done with the minimum of effort. It's not hard to see why we captured him at the open of the game as the best pure small forward in college basketball.
And he looks like he has the ability to probably play the 2 if he needed to as well.
What's impressive about Paul Pierce, there's not a lot of emotional highs and lows to his game. When you look at his facial expression, you can't tell if Kansas is ahead or behind.
Well, Pierce will get a bit of a blow as Bradford comes into the lineup for Roy Williams. Gregory also on the floor. So it's Robertson, Chenoweth, Earl, Bradford, and Gregory. Lakey, incidentally, remains on the floor for USC with 3 fouls. Ayuso behind a Lakey screen.
USC doing a very effective job of screening at the high post, forcing Kansas to make a difficult defensive position.
Lester Earl just spread out, made himself available to the ball, and made the easy basket.
Too easy of an entry pass. You cannot play behind Lester Earl and let him receive the ball at the 5-foot low post mark. You must make him work for better deep offensive position.
Spanish finally got one for 3.
And that's a good sign for the Trojans. If he gets into an offensive rhythm, it would spell good times for USC's offense. They're double teaming, they're trapping. They're in a 2-3 trapping zone right now. Kansas really has that zone spread.
Good ball movement by Kansas. Lester Earl just lost the ball, I believe. He's complaining that he was fouled on the wrist, but I think he just lost the ball.
And Roy Williams is pleading for a foul. He's saying that he hit his wrist.
Well, we'll see. We got a lot of the orange.
If we can get a shot of Roy Williams on the bench here, he's talking to Eric Chenoweth, and what he's talking to Eric Chenoweth about is that last offensive possession, because Chenoweth did not step out and help on the post position, and that's what Roy's telling him.
Transition basketball, meanwhile, on the floor for Lester Earl, and he got a lot of help from his friends. LaFrentz set him up nicely.
And what Roy's saying, oh, there it is. See, there was Rafe LaFrentz stepped out, and that's exactly what Roy was telling Eric Chenoweth. Son, you've got to step out and make yourself a help.
Good hands that time. I believe it was Ayuso who got a hand in front of that fast break.
The difference there, Barry, is Rafe LaFrentz is an upperclassman. Eric Chenoweth is a babe in swaddling clothes.
big swaddling clothes.
Yes.
There's the lob. What a great look and the finish by Kenny Gregory.
You will see that happen 3 or 4 times a game against the zone. Kansas loves to duck that wingman behind the defense for the lob. Good zone offenses create visibility problems for the defense.
Jumper by Sims won't go, or Trepanier, I beg your pardon, it won't go. And here come the Jayhawks again. Jayhawks lead by 12 with the ball. Ahead to LaFrentz with a finger roll. And the Jayhawks have it all going now, much to the joy of the fans from Lawrence.
Under normal circumstances, Henry Bibby would have called a timeout a long time ago, but he only has 1 timeout left. He's really in a difficult situation. You look at 63-49. Barry, you and I are saying, why isn't he calling timeout? The viewers saying, why isn't he calling timeout? He only has 1 left.
From behind, LaFrentz fouls Lakey. Kansas has got it in gear right now. Running the floor, that's their game. Transition, not making mistakes. The Jayhawks lead it by 14. 11:18 remaining. The Trojans 11:18 remaining in the ball game. Well, time now for the 7-Up final exam, and here it is. Who's the only person to ever win an NCAA, an NBA, and a CBA championship? Tell you somebody it's not. That guy right there, Jerry West, has turned out to be one of the great basketball minds. Doesn't always equate that a great player makes a great person in team management. And who's this guy? Irvin Magic Johnson watching, I'm sure he's watching Paul Pierce with a keen eye, and I'm not trying to make a comparison, but Paul Pierce got a lot of skills.
I noticed Jerry West had his pad out taking notes. The only note he needs to write on there is draft him, sign him.
He's going to be too good. He's not going to have a chance at it. Still plenty of time in the shot clock. Ayuso, tough shot. The follow misses by Trepanier, and Swillis with the 3rd shot.
This kid Trepanier, does he have unbelievable athletic ability?
USC is going to scare a couple of people in the Pac-10 conference from time to time. McGrath in the ball game now at the point for the Jayhawks. They try to trap it. McGrath gets on the ball on the floor, and Lester Earl gets it. Or rather, Lester Earl gets it. Trepanier fouls him. It's his 4th.
You've got to be impressed with the aggressive nature of the Trojan defense. Barry, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think think around the end of January, Henry Bibby's going to have a nice basketball team on his hands. If he just needs a little bit of more size to compete in this tough Pac-10 conference.
Augustine picks up the first turnover of the second half by the Kansas Jayhawks. That's pretty impressive in and of itself.
And if you're looking for reasons why Kansas had jumped out of the starting blocks in the second half and went ahead, it was the fact that they were not turning the ball over.
McGrath goes high for the rebound. C.B. McGrath out of Topeka, Kansas.
I didn't realize Ryan Robertson was such a good rebounder.
Good size at the point. 6'5". Augustine comes the other way. Missed the shot. They can really see Lester Earl contribute to this Kansas team too. So they're actually going to be a better team later in the season than they are right now.
It's a big possession here for USC. They want to try to get it down under double digits here.
They pop Ayuso up for three, and he misses. And Chenoweth is there for the rebound.
USC's offense is a little too shot oriented right now.
A simple interception and a race to the basket for Sims. Of course, a couple of turnovers in a row.
What USC needs is a little better balance in their offense between inside and outside offense. They're too dependent on the jump shot.
Chenoweth got into the lane but missed a shot. And we got a whistle and a foul.
And Paul Pierce has a frown on his face as he hits the floor very hard.
Substitutions for Henry Bibby as Lakey comes back into the ball game. Johnson back in.
Even in pain, Paul Pierce shows a minimum of facial expressions.
Sims with the miss. And Pierce with the rebound.
And again, the Trojans continue to depend on the jump shot.
That transition was just a thing of beauty. McGrath seeing Earl run the court, and Earl with the reverse dunk.
What's impressive about KU's fast break is they run wide lanes, they get behind the defense and create visibility problems, and their point guards always have their eyes up looking forward.
Lakey gets it back to the other end for the Trojans, but they can't afford to trade baskets at this juncture. Pierce drives baseline, and a good job underneath that time to just knock it away by Kevin Augustine. And stepping in front the other way is Thomas, and Thomas will wait for help. They get it to Pierce down the lane, they give it off the baseline to Earl for the slam. And they're going to say no basket. Well, it was pretty, it just doesn't count. We'll take a timeout. 7:39 remaining, and SC not quite done dancing yet. It's Kansas by 10, 65-55.
SC has become its own enemy, and the enemy is dressed as poor decision-making, bad passes, and quick shots. This has really killed them.
We have seen the enemy, and they are us. Look at the shooting in the second half for Roy Williams. Jayhawks, 12 of 18, all high percentage shots, running the floor, transition basketball.
Off camera, you mentioned to me about the TCU game. TCU came in averaging 114 points. What'd you say, it was a 3-point game at halftime?
Game very similar to this.
The final score, 94 Kansas, 78 TCU.
Lakey double clutches and couldn't quite get it, but it comes right back down in the hands of Trepanier, and he wastes no time in getting it back.
Well, USC's got it down to 8. They need a couple defensive stops is what they need right now. If they're going to get back in this game, they got to get back in on defense and rebounding.
Roy Williams has Robinson back in the ballgame. More dependable ball handler, more dependable quarterback. Thomas spot up. Pierce underneath. And it's going to be Kansas ball off of Lakey. Gregory will come into the Kansas lineup now. Billy Thomas will sit.
65-57. The Trojans are crying for a couple defensive stops.
Robertson, clearly the quarterback of this team. The team just seems more settled. What a look underneath Earl, and what a block by Trepanier. Or was it Lakey?
At one end of the floor, you have a team taking quick shots. At the other end of the floor, you have Kansas patient. But the USC defense was just as patient as Greg Lakey blocked that shot.
Kansas with 7 blocks in the game. USC with 4.
A game of block shots. Kansas will be patient. They'll move the ball. They'll get 5 or 6 touches.
And Robertson can't finish, and we're going to get a foul underneath, and that may be on Trepanier. If it is, and let me hold it for a moment. It'll be his 5th if it's against him. It is against Trepanier, and that'll be it for him.
And that's a big loss for USC's, their most athletic player. He's been their most active player on the floor at both ends of the floor, blocking shots, rebounding, chasing down loose balls, defending. A lot of things that Jeff did during this game will not necessarily show up in the stat sheet, but they will be revealed when the team watches the videotapes of this game.
Well, Henry Bibby called Jeff Trepanier a recruiting steal, and I think that's pretty accurate. Trepanier, a freshman. Augustine, a freshman. Shannon Swillis, a freshman. Lakey, a freshman. This team will make some noise before it's all done. Here's Earl down on the block. And a whistle before the shot. And they will get Ken Sims on the foul.
When you talk about a well-coached team, an intelligent basketball team, there was Kansas. They knew because of the trap that someone was open on the weak side of the floor. They did a great job of getting the ball reversed to Lester Earl. He found a wide-open shot, but he was fouled before he could get it off.
Jump stop, and Gregory with the miss. LaFrentz to the basket for the rebound. Takes the tough shots, doesn't he?
One of Rafe LaFrentz's secret offensive weapons is the offensive rebound. He does a great job of reading the missed shot and properly positioning himself for the putback.
Got a grab on Sims here. That's really not a bad foul.
I used to have an assistant coach, Brian Hamill, who would say in practice, what's in the mind of the passer must be in the mind of the receiver. There must be mental coordination. In that situation for USC, the passer and the receiver were not in coordination.
They got LaFrentz stepping on the baseline. It'll be USC ball. 10-point game, 5:32 remaining.
USC's had ample opportunity to cut this down to a 3 or 4 point game, but every time they get an opportunity, Kansas comes up with a great defensive play, and there's a sterling example of what we're talking about.
Nick Bradford made the play that time. Spanish caught the ball. Bradford just grabbed it.
One of the things that I think has taken place here at the 5-minute mark is fatigue has now become a factor in the game. USC players are standing up in an erect position. Their pass just lacked the crispness that it had earlier in the game. Kansas is a much fresher basketball team than USC at this juncture of the game.
Spot up Robertson. Look out. Oh, and he gets a good look.
I'm a little surprised he only takes 5 shots a game, as good a shooter as he is.
Got 11 points in this game, and they all seem to have come at a time when Kansas really needs a basket.
Well, Kansas has their best 3-point shooters back from last year: Robertson, Pierce, and Billy Thomas. That's 79% of Kansas's 3-point shooting last year.
pass, no. The follow by Swillis, no.
And there he is. Rafe clearing the boards.
17 points, 9 rebounds, and look at him hang there. He missed the shot. There's Lester Earl. I think Earl gives this team another whole dimension. A little short with that one.
Well, you want Lester Earl to take those type of jump shots. At this juncture in his career, you certainly would not capture Lester Earl as a good jump shooter. But as he progresses, especially under Roy Williams' tutelage, he'll become a good jump shooter.
And what you hope is not too much is expected of him. I mean, he was a guy that had superstar written all over him, and I think he's going to be a good player, an excellent rebounder, runs the floor well, just like a lot of these guys. But in this particular case, and on this particular team, he's a complimentary player.
The Jayhawks switched into a 1-3-1 zone on that last possession, giving USC a little different look, buying some time, not allowing fatigue to become a factor for them.
That was one of the first mistakes I remember Paul Pierce making, and count the basket and a block. And going down hard was Ayuso, and he's been hurt, and now he seems to be in some kind of pain again.
And he's gripping his ankle. The last thing the Trojans can afford is to lose another starter to a major injury.
Take another look, we can see what happened. Ayuso trying to go right up over the top, and it looks like he might have rolled that ankle.
Yeah, when he came down, he stepped off the foot of Ryan Robertson, and now watch him as he comes down. You're going to see it there. We could not see it, but there it is. He stepped off of Ryan Robertson's foot.
And it was hurting before he hit the ground.
A hidden factor in Kansas's run to put them ahead 70-59 has been the fact that the Trojans ran out of timeouts. Even at this juncture, they have no 20-second timeouts left, and they have one full timeout. I think that's had a decided effect on the second half of play.
Another look at this as he gets up and gets kind of caught up on the shoulders of Robertson, comes back, lands right on Robertson's foot.
But when you cut through it all, the Jayhawks are a far superior team. There's no doubt in my mind that at worst they're the #2 team in the country. You certainly could make a great case for Carolina. They go into Florida State and beat Florida State. Arizona goes into Florida State and loses.
Well, I think this year, maybe more than any in recent memory, there's about, and I may even be stretching it here, about 8 teams that are really a cut above, I think, almost everybody else in America. And I may be stretching it when I say 8. We'll take a timeout, 3:42 remaining. It's a 10-point Kansas lead. 70-60, playing excellent basketball in the second half. 3 minutes, 42 seconds remaining. Jayhawks shooting it better, and only 3 turnovers in the second half. Well, remember the 7-Up final exam? The only person to ever win an NCAA, NBA, and CBA championship. Do you have the answer?
I have no clue.
Henry Bibby, there he is. They won the NCAA title at UCLA, won the NBA title with the New York Knicks, and won a CBA title at Lancaster.
They'd be a mighty popular Trojan if he could win a national title here in basketball.
I should say that is Lancaster. I never get beaten up like that one time. It's Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
I'm going to make a prediction. Paul Pierce and Rafe LaFrentz will be co-players of the year in the Big 12.
That's a fair prediction. The guy at North Carolina might have a chance for National Player of the Year. Thomas, a little bit long. Kansas using the clock a little bit more, and again, Paul Pierce is showing great hands, and I'll set it up.
What's impressive about Kansas's offense is here late in the game, they have not lost their offensive discipline. That's 6 touches, 7 touches.
And they pull the trigger with 15 seconds left. Swillis with the rebound. coach has just had somebody in his pocket all night long. They leave it this time for Swillis at the free throw line, and he's got it. And again, the Trojans into single digits. But now the clock is the ally of the Kansas Jayhawks.
You look out on the floor, Lester Earl's out there right now. I believe Lester Earl is the X factor for Kansas. If he lives up to his potential, it would give Kansas probably the most potent front court in college basketball.
Pierce misses the long three, and now the Trojans with an opportunity. Augustino back it up. Now he turns around, goes baseline, and draws the foul. Not sure Henry Bibby just loved that.
Well, if it had been an NBA player, he would have attempted a shot so he could get to the line. As Augustine becomes a more experienced player in a situation like that, he will look for the foul. And it's one of the reasons why Kansas only has committed 6 personal fouls in the game. That's one of the most amazing stats I've seen in a long time. Kansas has only committed 6 personal fouls in this game.
Johnson, the pull-up, a little long. Swillis with the rebound. And the follow counter, they'll go to the line. With a chance to cut this Kansas lead to 5.
Nice hustle by the Trojans as they rallied to the basket. Actually, the Trojans took a big gamble on that play. They sent 4 players to the offensive boards.
Still a 2-possession game. Kansas has missed its last 5 field goal attempts. They'll try to use some clock here, I would imagine. Trojans do have a foul to use.
I'm a little surprised that USC is in a zone with the score 70-64 with 1:20 left. I would think that they might want to extend that defense a little bit, front the post inside, try to get the ball on the sidelines where they can trap it.
That'll be USC's last timeout, and they went a long way having just that one timeout. Kansas leads it, but only by 6. 124 with 120 remaining. You know, we're there when you're looking for the stories. All the sports inside and out on Fox Sports News Primetime. It's tonight after the game. We'll talk about Arizona and Florida State. Phil Jackson going for number 500 tonight. Tried to do so at the expense of his college coach. Paul Hackett meets the media here in Southern California. The report on Elias Ayuso, as we suspected, left ankle sprain. The extent of that injury, we don't know. You can see SC no timeouts remaining. It'll be a shooting situation the next time.
Perhaps we should anticipate what Kansas will do offensively. Let's sense that Kansas is going to make 3 to 4 passes, and then they're going to run a lob play for a dunk. I'm going to look for a lob play in here. Here's SC in a trapping defense.
Here's the pull-up at the baseline. It won't go. They roll for the last 6. Trojans got to hurry now. 54 seconds.
A huge possession.
Drop the shoulder, offensive foul. As soon as you drop that shoulder, you know you're going to get whistled.
And you paid a price for playing a freshman point guard late in the game. Actually, he carried the ball. The official really could have called for a palming of the ball on that play.
Player control foul, no shot.
And Dave Miller yelled from the bench, "That's the foul we want."
And that's the foul they want, because the man that they are putting on the free throw line is
Nick Bradford's a 57% foul shooter, and that was why the Trojans were anxious to get him to the line. They said, we'll take our chances with this young man. He's 8 for 14 from the foul line.
And he rattled it in. When you're 13-1, those shots go down. But it's the opposite. Finally, Swillis comes down with it, and a foul will reach him. And that'll stop the clock. Will not yet be a shooting situation.
The Trojans will run a set play here. Try to free one of the three-point shooters for an open look at the basket. There he is.
Hispanic sticks it. So it's a 4-point game. 23 seconds. They need a quick foul. Got to get to Bradford. They give it up nicely on the wing. Thomas. Great court awareness by the Jayhawks again.
No panic. They knew right away what they had to do.
Lakey sticks it for the Trojans. 7 seconds left.
The Trojans will not go away.
They foul Bradford with 6.4.
I'm a little bit surprised based on the fact that Nick Bradford is a 57% foul shooter that the Jayhawks keep putting the ball in his hands. But to the Trojans' credit, they are leaving him open on the inbounds pass so that he will receive the ball. So it's making a difficult decision for the Jayhawks. Let's see if it pays off for the Trojans.
Bradford just the net.
What Nick is saying, hey, don't listen to the stats. Put me on the line with the game on the line, and I'll show you how productive a foul shooter I am.
Lakey clears, but now it is all over. Augustine at the buzzer, and Kansas will head for Hawaii with benefit of a 5-point victory over USC. And again, you hit it, George. First 5 minutes of the second half, difference in the game.
No question about it. It was an outstanding basketball game. There's no doubt in my mind that this Kansas basketball team is the #2 team in the country. They just have too many.
Calling on the USC Trojans and come away with a 5-point victory. So the Jayhawks run it to 14-1, and against a quality schedule, they now will go to Hawaii and play a couple of more tough games before they get into the very tough Big 12 schedule. But this is a team that's going to be game ready by the time they get into their conference.
Well, what I think is happening now, the tournament down in Hawaii is going to give Roy Williams an opportunity to slowly work Lester Earl into the lineup. What I think Roy's hoping is that by time they get a couple games into the Big 12, Lester Earl will be ready, and that'll give him an awesome front line.
All right, 74-69. The Jayhawks are winners over the Trojans. We'll come back with a final word and wrap it up in the sports arena after this.